welcome to our panel on governance and wallets. So by way of intro, we know that Celo fosters a vibrant ecosystem of value, and a lot of this utility is achieved through governance. Everything about frameworks for governance is about designing these systems and environments for decisions, and we fundamentally need good tools to do that. So we participate as owners in this community and ecosystem by engaging with Celo assets, of course, mainly through wallets. So with that, I'm happy to introduce two collaborators here. I'm joined by Zviad Metrovelli, founder of Wotras, based in New York. Zviad is a software engineer with extensive experience working on large-scale distributed systems. Zviad's been involved with the Celo network since the launch of its Baklava testnet. Was also one of the Genesis validators with Wotras, and is also the creator of various systems, protocols, and applications that run on or interact with the Celo network. And that's including Celo Vote, Celo Terminal, and Saving Celo. Also joined as well by J.M. Rossi, as a fellow Celo collaborator, previously with C Labs, and now founder of the Celo web and desktop wallet. So we're going to be covering cool things related to governance and wallets. Once again, these are both really talented contributors and friends in the Celo ecosystem. So now they're both going to give us a demo of both the Celo terminal as well as the Celo web and desktop wallet. So Zviad, we'll start off with you with the Celo terminal.
Hello, I thought we were starting with JM, but we can go. Okay. We can start with me first.
Okay.
Either way.
Okay, Zviad, why don't we start with you?
Yes. Let me enter the screen share. All right. Hello, everyone. Just wanted to, this will mostly be a demo presentation. And if you hear any loud noises, apologies for that. I live in New York, and that's just the way of living here. I just wanted to give sort of a brief intro into what Celo Terminal is and motivation behind it, and sort of why I decided to build it before we go into the demo. So first, it's a desktop wallet, and the first question might come to your head is why a desktop wallet when you keep hearing all these things about make it mobile, you know, mobile wallets, getting mobile users and so on, which is, you know, the mobile part is great because it targets large number of users, but we know that for, you know, dealing with either a large amount of assets or dealing with complex protocols, desktop wallets are a necessity anyways. You know, we can't avoid this. Not everything can be done on a mobile phone for either trust reasons, security reasons, UI complexity reasons, and so on. So that's sort of why the desktop part. The second question is, why build a new wallet? You know, there are already wallets on Ethereum, like a MetaMask plugin, or you know, there is a Ledger Live wallet and a bunch of other wallets that exist in Ethereum ecosystem that we could have sort of ported for Celo. And the main big differentiator between Celo Terminal and every other wallet is that in addition to being just a regular wallet, it allows any DApp developer to build native integration directly inside the app. And if we go and if we look at the examples of other apps, let's say something like MetaMask, in the beginning, it started as a very simple thing. You know, you could just send and receive tokens, do this stuff. But at some point, they added the capability to do swaps. But this sort of part is not really built in a decentralized way. It's a specific thing that a MetaMask team decided to build. It's same thing with, let's say, Argent Wallet, where they've built some parts of the lending from one of the protocols, but not from the other one, and so on. So as an app developer, you don't get an opportunity to have these native integrations into these wallets. So it creates a weird setup where these wallets have some native integrations, but not the others. And it puts too much power into wallet developers' hands in a way. So this is the approach for Celo Terminal, where it democratizes this sort of a native integration part for the app developers. So now let me just jump into a quick demo. I'll just show the app, and you know, then I'll probably do some questions and discussions towards the end. So the app is very simple, as you can see here. This is the one that's open up. The design is kept simple on purpose so that individual apps can do their own design if they want to. And we'll just go through some simple operations where you can see that there's already my Ledger account added into this here. Since clicking on Ledger takes quite some time, I'm just going to create a regular account too, where the key will be stored on my computer. So I'm just gonna name this something, enter a very secret password, and I'm going to create this account. And this is just a regular account where the private key is stored on your desktop computer. So now I'll show just sort of very basic things that any wallet can do. You know, we can send and receive tokens. It has support for any ERC20 compatible tokens or Celo ERC20 compatible tokens. I'm just going to send one Celo from my Ledger address to this new account that I just created. And as we all know, in Celo, transactions take only 5 seconds, so we don't have to sit here and wait 15 minutes for a live demo to happen. So now you can see that in my test account, I've just transferred this sort of one Celo token here. Now, you can see the other basic functionalities that the app has, which is as part of the Celo protocol, we have ability to lock Celo Gold, to then vote on validators or to vote in governance. And this functionality is built into the app. I'm not going to go into too many details, but you can see sort of simple stuff here. And then there is governance voting. And as you know, right now there is a vote going on, which is to vote for activating the C Euro part, which as you can see here, if I had some Celo locked, I would be able to vote on this too. So I'll demonstrate to show the app ecosystem. I'll demonstrate sort of one unique capability in Celo Terminal that's probably not possible in anywhere else, which is support for this multi-signature accounts. If you're not familiar with multi-signature accounts, these are accounts that are sort of signed by multiple individual account addresses, so you get more security. So for example, you can require 2 people to approve a transaction before it's executed. So for this, we'll go into this apps, more apps section. You can see there are a bunch of apps in there. We'll see this multi-sig app. We'll just install this. We've got the multi-sig app, and if we go into the accounts, we'll try to create a new multi-sig account. There we go. We'll just create it with a single owner, which is just ourselves. It takes quite a bit of transactions, but luckily again, Celo transactions take only 5 seconds, so we shouldn't have to wait too long. And you will notice another thing here in Celo Terminal 2, where when it actually knows what the contract is, it's able to parse it out and actually give more details on what the actual transaction is, unlike a lot of other systems where transactions are even more opaque and you don't really know sort of what you're approving or what you're executing. All right, now after 4 transactions, we're done. We have this multi-sig account created here. And the cool thing about Celo Terminal is that any account type operates just like every other account type. So we've already seen a ledger-based account, a local account, and now we see this multi-sig that we just created, and we see sort of the owner, which is our test address that we created a moment ago. So a multi-sig with a single owner is not very useful. So I'm just going to add in a second owner here, which is my ledger address. There we go. And because right now multi-sig is just signed by one person, it just acts like a regular account. And I'm able to just create this. Now there are 2 owners in here. And I'm going to make a change to require now 2 signatures to make further changes. So this change, as you can see here, the transaction is parsed to, boom. Now all future changes of this multi-sig will actually require 2 signatures. So if we try to change this back again to 1, confirm this. Now you will see that it won't actually change because a transaction is scheduled, but it's not yet executed because the other owner needs to approve it too. That's sort of the whole point of multi-signature accounts. Now, in general, somebody else, this would be a different person. They would have their own Celo terminal open, go and confirm it. We'll just do it locally here by changing sort of associated address with a multi-sig here. There we go. And now we're able to confirm this as if we were from our ledger address from the second owner. There we go. Did some clicking on the ledger, always fun. If you've never clicked on a ledger, it's a type of fun that you can't replicate anywhere else. All right, now let's just switch this back because clicking on ledgers is not that much fun. And now we'll just do one more sort of a thing to demonstrate that this multisig is just like a regular account. We have our test address, right? We'll just send some Celo to it. Just send some half a Celo. Confirm this. And now this is now in the multisig account. Now, since we're nearing end of the demo, I'm just going to send everything back. Celo's price is going up by a lot, so I don't really want to waste my half a Celo here. Just going to send this back. And the cool thing is it's automatically translating the transactions to send it as the multisig. It's got sent back. Now I'll send, I'll also clean up the other account too. This can't leave this half a Celos laying around here. And confirm this too. So now, once this is done, I don't really need this multi-sig account anymore. I'm not going to use this. And just to show this local account, we can actually see sort of the mnemonic and the private key behind it. So you can use this to back this up. As it says here, don't share this mnemonic with anyone else. I just shared this with everyone in the world.
Immortalized forever on this call, Ziad.
Exactly. So I don't need this account anymore. If you want to drain the 0.00001 Celo that's in there, please go ahead. Gas is cheap on Celo, so you can certainly do it. And I'm going to delete this as an extra protection when you're deleting these type of accounts, because once you delete this, it's gone. If you did not make a backup, it's gone forever. So you want to be careful about this. And just to note, this whole demo, even though I did this in live, I did at least like 20, 30 transactions. It cost me less than 1 cent. It cost me so little that I basically have the same balance as what I started with in my main account. So that's sort of the power of Celo. And that's why sort of we need this new type of wallets and UX that is built for Celo specifically, because we can have better interactions. We don't have to be bound to the ways of the past. So that sort of sums up the demo. And for users, you can just go and download this in celoterminal.com. If you're an app developer, you can go to celoterminal.com, and there is a GitHub link from there. You can go in there. There are all the details on how you can build an app, how you can build an app just like this, and how you can sort of become part of the ecosystem and reach more users with a native integration.
That was awesome. Thank you so much for demoing that, Ziad.
Thank you.
I think I'll hold off to questions till the end. Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Cool. So Rossi, you're up next. And Rossi's going to demo us the Celo web and desktop wallet. Take it away, Rossi.
Yeah. Before I jump in, I just want to say, I've seen it before, but I continue to be impressed by just like how smooth using multisig was in Celo Terminal. I feel like it's really an indication of where things are going, and like just seeing multisig just work without people having to necessarily know the details about it. Like we're getting a sneak peek of the future of crypto wallets. So mad kudos to Ziad. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Okay. There we go. Thank you. And I will try sharing my screen now. Okay. Can you all see this slide here?
Yes, we can.
Great. I'm Rossi, and I'm the creator of CeloWallet.app, which is also called the Celo Wallet for web and desktop, or the Celo Web Wallet. And it's a really lightweight wallet that serves this goal that you see here. The project is one that we had sort of been thinking about for like over a year. We thought, oh, this would be really great to have something on the web that could provide some basic Celo access to anyone with at least an internet connection and a browser. You know, if Celo's mission is to serve as many people as possible and include them into a more inclusive financial system, then that means we need to reach as many people as possible. So we need to be on as many platforms as we can be. The wallet was designed from the ground up to be simple and to be kept really small and to remain mobile friendly. And I'm proud to say that the entire application, including everything, including fonts, including pictures, is less than 1.5 megabytes, which, to put that into context a little bit, that's more than 7 times smaller than comparable wallets that you'll find in the Ethereum ecosystem. And when you're on a desktop in the USA, you don't notice that. But if you simulate loading, you know, CeloWallet.app for the first time on a slow 3G connection, which you can easily simulate in Chrome, versus loading a more bulky, one of the older wallets, that size difference is the difference between it being unusable, taking over a minute to load, just like a white screen of nothing, to a little rough around the edges, but still usable. In terms of platforms, the web wallet came first, and then shortly after, a packaging for desktop was released as well. So you can use the wallet in your browser. Any modern browser will do, though Chrome tends to work best, especially for Ledger support, or Mac, Windows, and Linux. You can install it locally. And all the versions include Ledger support, which make it a super convenient tool. For example, like a tool without having to install anything in order to do basic transactions like to send, create, manage accounts, do exchanges. You can do that via a Ledger with the web wallet. Cool, that's the context. Let's hop on over to the wallet and show it off a little bit. Here's the landing page. This is what you'll see if you're loading the wallet for the first time. And we're gonna make a new account. So here's a warning about that you'll see if you're not using Ledger and not using the desktop version. And that's important, but we're gonna just skip over this for now and talk about it in a minute. Here's the information about our new account. Of course, we have an address, which we can copy. We can see the QR code for it. We have a unique icon, also called an identicon, because it's an icon that represents your identity. And every address has a unique identicon, which tends to be quite helpful when you're looking at things in a feed and you sort of have a loose visual memory of, oh yeah, like you know, John had sort of a red and green kind of thing, especially when noticing your own account, you get to know this icon very well. And down here is the account key, which you can retrieve later. So we're just going to breeze through for now. I'm going to set a password. And this password is what's encrypting the account on your device. And it's important to know that the account never leaves your device. So it's stored here for the web version in the browser storage, or for the desktop version, excuse me, in an encrypted file. I'm going to set the password, and we're going to promise not to forget it. Okay, here's the wallet landing page. And what we'll see is, we're going to see a few things. We're going to see a steep rise in the price of Celo, which is exciting down here. And we're going to see here at the top some options to fund the wallet. If we show buy, this is just going to link to a couple of reputable exchanges that you can use to buy some currency and transfer it in. Or if you choose the receive option, you're going to see your QR code and address. And this works well with Valora. So just for funsies, I'm going to load up Valora, and I'm going to send say $1 or $2 in to this new account. Okay. Add a description, welcome, send. And that's on its way out, confirming. Boom. Okay. So a few things changed. The balances at the top, of course, and we can click on the balances if we want more details about it, or if we want to add any ERC20 tokens. We see the transaction here in the transaction feed on the left. And we also see a reminder about your account key, because once there's money in the account, there's now something to lose. So we want to make sure that the user's been warned to store the account key in some safe place. You won't see this if it's a Ledger wallet, though. Let's try sending some money back, show some gratitude. So I'm going to send $1 back. It's payback time. And here's the confirmation screen. If everything looks good. One thing to call out that is unique to Celo, and I think is really cool, you'll see that the fee is in CUSD, so not Celo. Something that's unique to the Celo network is that you can pay for transactions in the stable currencies, not just in the native currency of Celo. So that means you never had to handle any native currency. You could just handle the stable currencies and still do all the things you want to do. Payments going out. Success. You know, I've seen this success screen probably 1,000 times, but I still get like a little bit of a yay every time I see the check mark. Great. So that's sending. We'll show exchanges real quickly too. Let's change one Celo dollar into a Celo. On the right, you see the graph of the prices over time. And right now there's just 2 currencies here, but in just a short few days, Celo euros are going to be included here as well. And actually the wallet already supports it. It's just hidden until the official launch. Okay, final confirmation, off it goes. Great. So that's some of the things that you can do in the web version. But let's talk a little bit more about that warning that we saw when we first created the account, because it is important. The great thing about a web wallet is it's just so convenient. You don't install anything. You can have an account up and running in literally seconds. The downside is that even a web wallet that takes every security measure it can has some risks to it that a desktop wallet or a mobile wallet do not have. For example, suppose a user has a malicious browser extension installed. There's just the greatest thing about the web is the worst thing about the web. It's an open platform, and say things like an extension can do anything. They can inject malicious code and maybe steal your funds that way. So users are warned whenever you create an account, whenever you import an account, or whenever you have an account that has more than $25. And they're encouraged in those cases to either use a ledger or to just download the desktop version. And you'll see a link for that down here with the links for the different platforms. So let's have a look at the desktop version and see how that compares. I've got that loaded up here. And what you'll notice is it's the same. It looks the same. And in fact, it is the same. It's the same code base for both apps, but the desktop version has that web wallet code base packaged with Electron so that it can run on the desktop. And because it's running in this closed app, we can make some security guarantees that we can't necessarily do for the web app. So this is safe to use for any size of account. And it's also, it lights up some extra cool features that we intentionally don't light up in the web version. For example, if we click on more here, we're going to see some other cool stuff that we can do with this wallet. Like we can lock, and we'll see that I've already got 5 Celo locked in this account. So just for fun, let's lock one more. In case anyone's unaware, locking and unlocking, that's how you move your Celo into the state where you can use it to stake validators or vote for governance. You can only do that with locked Celo, and that's to help keep the network secure. Since we have some locked funds, we can also stake. Here we see a list of the validators. Soon, here we go. A list of the validators on the network, a little bit of info about them, and you can choose the one that you'd like to vote for. But since this call is partly about governance, let's go ahead and vote for governance. we see that there's one active proposal here on the governance screen. It's very straightforward. You just select the proposal you want. And you'll see a bit of info about it. This is just the basics. If you want more info, you can follow this link and you'll get, you'll see the GitHub information with the full description of what this proposal is about. In this case, CEO activation is pretty straightforward. It's one that I'm very in favor of. So emphatic vote yes. Let's continue and let's cast our vote. There it goes. And here is on the left, the full activity feed, a couple more pieces of info at the bottom, your address. And yeah, that's sort of the key things I want to call out. This wallet is still relatively new and there's still lots of cool features being developed and coming soon. But yeah, that's the Celo wallet for desktop. And I hope that people find it helpful.
Great. Thank you so much, Rossi. We're a little bit short on time. We did just have one question from the audience to both of you. Has the code been audited or do you have any plans to do so?
I'll jump in. It has not yet been audited. It's been reviewed by a few trusted friends, but not formally audited. And we would love to arrange a formal audit. So that's planned, but not yet immediately scheduled. So I can't give you a date.
Similar setup here. The code has been reviewed, and the most critical part actually is the importance to not lose the data, but no official audit yet. But we will hopefully figure something out in the future to have this type of tools audited.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for your stellar and important contributions to Celo and to the space. Generally, this work really helps democratize and include folks in the process of participating with Celo, the protocol, so that they can be further engaged and active members of the Celo community. So this is a great session. I feel really honored to get to jam together with you here, see this awesome work in action. Celo Terminal and CeloWallet.app, everyone, test them out. And stay tuned for more great things coming for Kuneko and in the tech track. So now I'm going to hand it back off to Yas to chat about bridges. Off to you, Yas.
Thanks, Gab. Yeah, so next up we have a section on interoperability and bridges. I'll be introducing David Ansermino. He's the VP of Engineering at Chainbridge Systems. And also I'll be introducing James Kreswich, our very own James Kreswich, who always has a bridge to sell you. So folks, you want to give it an introduction, a brief introduction about you both and kick it off?
Yeah, I mean, I can maybe just jump straight into things. So my name is David Ansermino, and yeah, I'm VP of Engineering at Chainbridge Systems. We are a blockchain research and development firm founded in Toronto. And today I'm here to really give an overview of our project Chainbridge and explain how the Celo integration that we've been working on kind of works. So before diving in too deep, I think it's important to give some context for how we got here and what our motives are. In the early days of ChainSafe, we worked largely in the Ethereum space, and we saw a lot of people who were moving to sidechains. And this was really kind of a short-term solution to the scalability issue, but it really started to demonstrate a growing need for cross-chain communication. And although the scaling solutions have come a long way, the segregation of ecosystems continues to be an issue. And we continue to see this to be a pretty exciting problem, because we believe if we can solve it, it could unlock a huge amount of potential within some of the existing technology. So Chainbridge is really a developer toolkit to build bridges between blockchains. Some of the key properties of Chainbridge is that it's extendable. So we're able to develop integrations for many different chains. These integrations can be simple and follow a basic protocol, or more extensive and include some additional features. It's also modular. So for the chains that are supported, they can be combined in different ways to construct different bridges between each other. It's also very customizable. The data that is passed across one of these bridges can be entirely arbitrary, and the on-chain components are not limited to specific interactions such as token transfers. So for example, you could use the bridge for transferring an ERC20 token from one chain to another, or you could use it perhaps to initiate a vote in a DAO from one chain while the DAO lives on another. Here we have a high-level diagram of the Chainbridge architecture. As you can see, there's 3 chains, A, B, and C, and an instance of a bridge relayer in the middle. The relayer consists of modules which are responsible for reading from and submitting transactions to the respective chains. And then these modules pass messages between each other to communicate transfers. In a typical bridge construction, you would have multiple of these relayer instances, all participating in each of the bridge transfers. With the Celo integration we've been working on, we had the opportunity to explore reducing some of the trust assumptions in the relayers. And this was done by combining 2 proof mechanisms. So the first one being Merkel inclusion proofs, and the second being BLS aggregate signature verification. So just to give a bit of information on how these actually work, we can use a Merkel proof to effectively show that a transaction is included in a block. So each block that's produced contains the root hash of what's known as the transaction trie, which is a Merkel trie constructed for each block consisting of all the transactions that are included in it. The proofs for these are pretty easy to verify and have a very low space complexity. For example, if we wanted to prove that the transaction in green was included in this block, we would just need to show that these other nodes in red can be used to reconstruct the root hash. So it really just involves several hashes to recalculate that. And if we produce the same root, then we've successfully shown that it was included in that block. Moving on to the BLS aggregate signature verification. Within a Celo network, the elected validators will individually sign a new block, and these signatures are combined to produce an aggregate signature, which is associated with that block. Similarly, we can take all the public keys of these validators and combine them to produce an aggregate public key. So in a single verification step, we can then verify that the elected validators did produce a specific block. So for a bridge, these proof mechanisms provide limited utility individually, but by combining them, we can show that a certain transaction was included in a valid block. And this really removes some of the trust assumptions that we're placing on the relayers who are responsible for transmitting the transfers from one chain to another. Looking ahead for Chainbridge, our focus will be largely on improving the developer experience. Right now, we're working on refactoring our overall architecture to reduce friction when it comes to building custom bridges. We definitely want to create more documentation, tutorials, etc., to really lower that barrier of entry. We're also looking at adding support for some additional chains. In addition to Celo, we also have support for EVM-based chains and substrate-based chains. And we're really excited to explore some of the potential of some L2 solutions that are coming out these days and to see what potential features that could unlock for us. We're also very interested in looking at other trust models, similar to what we've done here with the Celo integration. We would definitely love to see, a decentralized, entirely decentralized bridge in the future, and that's really what we're kind of working towards as our ultimate goal. So that's all I have. Thanks so much for listening. Definitely stay tuned for the official release of our Celo integration. If you're interested in any of this or just want to chat, feel free to reach out to me through any of the means that are listed here. Like everyone in the space, we are hiring, so please check out chainsafe.io/careers if this stuff gets you excited.
Next up is Jane Kreswich, who's going to be going over interoperability and chain and bridges for happening at Celo. Jane, do you want to take it away?
Sure, I am trying to share my screen, and we're going to see if we actually can make it work. I was just doing this yesterday. I don't know why it's not working now.
Well, finger crossed that it works.
Well, while we're doing that, I can go ahead and give a quick introduction of myself. My name is James Prestwich. I've been working in crypto for 6 or 7 years now. I got started in this way back in 2013, 2014, before Ethereum was a thing, before there was, more than one chain that people really cared about. So my interest in crypto has really developed a lot over the years. I started off working just on Bitcoin things, and as the space grew, my interest in the space grew with it. And so a few years back, I decided to, really specialize in cross-chain applications, and started a company with a few friends back in 2018 called Summa. So Summa worked specifically on cross-chain trades, cross-chain contracts, cross-chain bridges, and obviously in 2018 we're very early to this space. We worked on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and anything else that was available at the time. This is telling me I need to quit and reopen Zoom to make it work. I'm so sorry. I'm going to do that in just a minute once I get through the introduction. The main, learning from Summa is that we were very early to interoperability, and there was a lot of work to do in this space. And so last year, last August, the Summa team decided it was time to stop working on random little projects and buckle down to really get something done and get back to working for users rather than on kind of technical showpieces. And so we joined C Labs last year to really focus on building out the bridges team at C Labs and working with Chorus One and Chainsafe and other people to kind of kickstart this cross-chain ecosystem for Celo. I'm going to go ahead and drop out. I would recommend you start doing Q&A for David, and that'll give me some time to fix my setup. I'm so sorry about this.
No worries, no worries. All right, we'll do a little Q&A with David. So David, I'm I know Greg, who used to be like VP of engineering, and now you're like the VP of engineering. So tell me, what's it like being Chainsafe and working on all this cutting edge project that Chainsafe is doing? Because in my opinion, Chainsafe is one of the leading engineering firms in crypto, working on all these different projects and stuff. So I'm kind of curious about your experience.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for those kind words. Definitely, I feel really fortunate to be working in this space. We were very lucky with our timing and, so many things that really just aligned for us. From the early days, we've always tried to be very chain agnostic, and that's really given us a possibility to explore so much technology and really prevent us from doubling down on something that would maybe limit our ability to continue growing. And so, I mean, today there is, more excitement than ever in this space and more projects than ever popping up. And so, we're really trying to figure out what's going to have the biggest impact from a technological standpoint, and really try to continue our focus on the technology as we continue to grow and start to participate in so many of these awesome ecosystems.
Oh, amazing. I'm gonna hand it over back to Jane to kick off the optics presentation.
Thanks. So it turns out when you update OS X, it resets all of your preferences here. So that's what was going on, is a recent update. So getting back into it, I already gave a brief introduction of myself. I've been leading the Bridges team here at C Labs for quite a while now. And we've been working on a newer model for cross-chain communication. David gave a great overview of kind of the problem space, is that everything is really siloed. Every chain exists in a completely separate ecosystem, and it's very difficult to get things moving between chains. It's really kind of unpleasant working cross-chain. You have to go out and learn some existing ecosystem. You have to learn the in-depth consensus details of the remote chain. For Celo, you have to know about BLS signature aggregation and the validators and how those are rotated. For Ethereum, you need to learn about ETH hash and get into the internals of the proof of work. Each bridge is bespoke. And for these relays, where we're actually moving the signatures over or moving the headers over, and then we're doing the Merkel trie verification, they're incredibly costly. A few years back, I built a Bitcoin relay, which currently runs TBTC. And the Bitcoin relay is the cheapest possible relay you can build. It takes one Bitcoin header every 10 minutes, and it currently costs something like 10 ETH per week to run. So the Keep team is running that and spending a really unpleasant amount of money just to keep Bitcoin up to date. When it comes to more complex systems like proof of stake, like ETH hash, like all these other chains out there, it looks like relays are not going to be a long-term viable option without a lot of subsidization from the chain itself. And so as more and more chains come online and you need more and more of these relays, you see a huge fragmentation in bridging technology and ecosystem. So right now, almost all bridges out there deployed are completely custodial and trusted. The major exceptions are TBTC and the near Rainbow Bridge. And we're working with Chainbridge and Chorus One to deploy non-custodial bridges to Ethereum and the Cosmos ecosystem, but it takes a long time. And so we have come up with a mechanism that we think kind of cracks this open and makes it a lot easier to build one bridge that works to go to any chain and to create a cohesive, cheap ecosystem for cross-chain messaging. So the goal is to really just build bridges between every chain. This isn't a Celo to Ethereum specific mechanism. We're trying to build something that works the same on Celo as it does on Ethereum and Near and Solana and Polkadot and Cosmos. And to create a bridge mechanism that just works everywhere without all the bespoke header relay and bespoke transaction trie and bespoke event processing that you need today. So the key features that we have come up with and we've been able to build into this are a one-to-many relationship. So unlike a traditional bridge, which goes between two specific chains, Optics works for sending message from one chain to any other, and it uses the same mechanism regardless of the destination chain. Because we're not doing header verification and we're not checking proof of work or validator signatures, we can shave off the majority of the costs of the system. We don't need to spend that 10 ETH per week updating headers. So we can, we think, cut this down to 10% of the cost. We call it trustless, which is, fits better on a slide, but the more accurate term is probably trust minimized. We've chosen a non-custodial security model with a minimum amount of trust in off-chain actors. And we've optimized for ease of integration. So a developer should be able to kick up a new Zap, a cross-chain app in just a few hours, as opposed to having to build out a custom transaction tree processor to get transaction receipts from Ethereum. Generally, the way this works is that there is a home chain for the communication channel that's committing messages, and a bunch of replicas that replicate the commitment. So if the home commits to a series of 20 messages, the replica should be able to get the commitment and unpack each of those 20 messages. So we're reproducing a data structure from one chain to another. And the way we're doing that is using a notary system. So we create this updater, which is an off-chain actor that attests to the message commitment. It is possible for the updater to attest to fraudulent commitments. And this is a big departure from the relayed security model. Optics permits fraud. However, we bond the updater and we ensure that frauds are publicly verifiable. So if the updater ever commits fraud, we know that we can slash them and revoke their bond. The other defense against fraud is that each replica has a time delay. It accepts the commitment only after a certain number of hours. And that gives everybody who is using that replica a chance to detect fraud, which will always be public, and to respond before the fraud can affect them in any way. So assuming that people are generally online and available, the updater will not commit fraud because there will be a guarantee of loss and an extremely uncertain gain. So the timeline for optics is we've basically, these are internal milestones, so please forgive them for being a little opaque. We're almost complete with implementation and testing. We have the on-chain contracts, we have the off-chain agents. Everything seems to be working okay. We're missing a few features, but we're going to be launching on testnets very shortly, within the next month. And we hope to be running between Ethereum's Ropsten testnet and Alpha Horus, in a few weeks, and opening it up for developers. We expect mainnet a couple months after that. And in the future, we figure out, how does optics communicate with Celo governance or its own governance system? So kind of the conclusion here is that we're trying to build out an ecosystem with one-to-many relationships where every chain can connect to every other chain, rather than having a complex routed solution. And we're trying to do this cheaper than any other bridge that's been deployed before. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, this has been really exciting. I've been waiting for a while to hear about optics like publicly and stuff. I'm so excited that we can actually unveil it at Connecto and stuff. So yeah, I think we have a few more minutes. Potentially we can go to like a mini panel on interoperability and bridges. What do you think?
Yeah, I was planning on just hanging out with David and talking shop for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great platform for that, right?
One of the things that I'm excited about is how we integrate some of the optics stuff with Chainbridge in the long run. Chainbridge is a much more mature platform for running these off-chain agents to maintain this type of infrastructure.
David, what do you think? Is there any possibility for integration down the line, Chainbridge and optics?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that there's definitely huge potential for integration there. Certainly one of the very interesting kind of components of all this, which we really want to explore more, is kind of creating a market for these participants, right? Like having individuals who can actually run the software and, maybe they're facilitating multiple bridges, maybe it's just one in particular, but really trying to figure out the incentives and create opportunities for people to participate in that way, I think is going to be really cool to see.
Yeah, because bridges are so immature, we haven't seen like a lot of standardization around what the roles are and how people are incentivized to run these things. Everybody is mostly just doing like a centralized, trusted service where, Binance runs the Binance bridge. I'm really interested in how we like take this monolithic idea of a bridge and break it down into a bunch of discrete actors.
Yeah. Sorry, go
go
ahead. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly going to be pretty fascinating to see, and I think we're already starting to see a bit of emergence with it. Certainly, looking at stuff like even Chainlink and Oracle stuff like that. There's already starting to be a realization for the need of these participants and these kind of like discrete roles within these systems.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting to bring up oracles because the trusted bridges are essentially just an oracle-driven bridge, right? If you wanna think about it this way, another way to look at optics is that it's an accountability system for oracles for publicly verifiable information. So when there is an objective correct answer, you can hold the oracle accountable somewhere.
Another thing I wanted to ask, I think Chainbridge is already operational with one network. There's a bridge between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. Forgive me if I'm wrong, David, is that right?
Yeah, we do have that. There's also an upcoming deployment on Moonbeam between Ethereum and Moonbeam. There's also the Avalanche deployment, which has been running for, I think, 2 or 3 months now between Avalanche and Ethereum.
Awesome. So I'm kind of curious if there's going to be a Celo Ethereum one with Chainbridge, or is it going to be an optics kind of thing? What do you all think?
Well, I don't see it as an either or kind of thing. I mentioned this in the presentation. Optics has a weaker security model than a relay. So if you're going to be running very high value messages, you almost certainly want that Chainbridge relay with validating the signatures from Celo. So I don't see it as an either or thing. I think these are likely to exist in parallel a bunch of places.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really going to come down also to particular projects that are looking to leverage these technologies. A lot of them have kind of unique needs and are going to kind of push the bounds of this technology. So we're certainly going to see a lot of people kind of jumping in and trying to make use of this stuff, I think, ahead of just like, a big collaborative effort, which we definitely want to move towards in the future.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So another question I had, for both of you, if you had a magic wand, what would be one network that you'd want to bridge that you haven't bridged before, but you're like, oh, you want to test out the tech on that network and want to see if there's a bridge possible?
It's a good question. I am a huge fan of Bitcoin and still think there are ways to do the Bitcoin bridges better than we're currently doing them. So I'm always got this going on in the back of my mind is how can we improve Bitcoin interoperability?
Yeah, I think for myself, one of the really interesting cases is Filecoin. And not so much for the asset itself, but rather to try to start to explore what Web3 applications could look like when we have this availability of storage and start to add these other components and really build this quote unquote supercomputer of the world.
Yeah, I've been exploring Filecoin like from a miner angle, and it seems like it's so costly just to get all that storage. James, just to go back to what you were saying about Bitcoin and stuff, I'm kind of curious, would, in a perfect world where you can do Bitcoin bridging, me, a holder of Bitcoin, I can deposit it securely knowing that nothing would happen to it. And then, on the other side, let's say Ethereum, I can get the representation of it without any third party trying to, interfere and stuff. Is there any drawback in existing system that you see, I guess?
Well, you can use TBTC today to do that. It works. It's been running out in the wild for quite a while now. The downside of TBTC is that it's very expensive to use. Mm-hmm. There's high capital requirements. You have to run this relay that's extremely expensive to operate. I think that we ought to be able to do that cheaper, and that we ought to be able to do it with a better, experience for users who have to pay for this thing.
Gotcha. So gas costs are the biggest drawback and stuff. Yeah.
And that can be patch fixed by moving this to some layer 2 or something. But it's hard to see. The reason I've had it kicking around the back of my head is because it's hard to see a permanent solution.
Yeah. Because essentially Bitcoin, even though like it's one of the biggest thing in my portfolio, it's essentially a pet rock. But like having it represented in a trustless way and having like, using that kind of capital on other network would be so valuable. But, for me, it's all about trust. Can we do it trustlessly and in affordable way and stuff? So I think that's super valuable. All right, I think we're at time. So I want to thank both James and David for this insightful discussion on interoperability and bridges. Chainbridge and optics are really interesting tech that I can't wait to mess around with later and stuff.